fellow pen lovers and stationery enthusiasts, it's Christy here, Snarky Wordsworth over on Instagram and Reddit. And today, I am so excited about this video you're about to watch. So a few days ago, Goldspot reached out to me and asked if I would be interested in taking a sneak peek at their new Benu Goldspot collaboration pen. Of course, I said yes, and it landed really, really quickly. I'm going to go ahead and do the unboxing, spend a couple weeks getting to know the pen, and then be back with a full-on review. In all honesty, am so excited. I've seen some sneak previews of photos of this, and I cannot wait to see it in person. So let's go ahead and get to the unboxing. Oh, this is super cool. So the Benu Hot Toddy, and of course it has the ingredients. This is for both an alcoholic or a non-alcoholic version. Includes water, whiskey, or a non-alcoholic substitute, 2 to 3 ounces of pomegranate juice, 2 to 3 teaspoons of honey, 2 to 3 teaspoons of lemon juice, dash of edible glitter, a lemon round, and a cinnamon stick. But I do love the art. This is really cute. This is super cute. Then the product information and lifetime warranty. Okay, last step. This is so perfect right now. So I am really in an autumn phase right now. So colors like this are 100% in my wheelhouse. Look at this. So I wasn't sure if it would be like a really bright yellow because it's always hard to tell in photographs, but hopefully you can see this is really more like a deep, rich sunset yellow, I would say. Look at that sparkle. Oh my goodness. Seriously, that glitter is so, so perfect. I love the way this looks. Okay. You can see, so the glitter does not extend, at least in mine, up through the section. It's just in the body and in the cap. And then this does have that stainless steel Schmidt nib, the number 6. I opted to go with the fine. I've never used a fine Schmidt nib before, so I'm really excited to finally get to try one. I have used the medium and I have used the bold. If you are not familiar with Schmidt nibs, they are very, very wet, smooth writers. So just go into that knowing that it's going to be a very wet pen. But yeah, I already know exactly what ink I'm going to pop into this. What's really, really awesome is that I'm going to be able to spend a couple weeks just sort of getting to know this pen, getting to write with it and play around and see how I feel about the nib and everything, how it feels in the hand. But after that couple weeks, I will be back with a full-on review. So just sit back and I will return in just a moment. Okay, I am back with the brand new Benu Goldspot collaboration pen. This is a Euphoria in the Hot Toddy colorway. Now, before I get into the actual review for this pen, I just wanted to go over some specs that were sent to me. The MSRP for this pen is $157. It comes with a Schmidt stainless steel nib. I have it in the fine, but it also comes available in medium and broad. It's a cartridge converter pen. Its length when closed is 5.9 inches or 150 millimeters. Its length when open and not posted is 5.47 inches and 139 millimeters. And then if you post it, it becomes a giant 7.16 inches long, or 182 millimeters long. Now, this may seem ridiculous to a lot of people, but when I was one of those people who was a diehard pen poster and had to post every pen, I actually wrote with this, and it does work. It actually isn't even that terribly unbalanced because it is quite a light resin. It's not heavy at all, but it's a very long pen when you do this. I would say for the majority of people, you're going to write with it just like this. Anyway, the section itself is 0.39 to 0.43 inches in diameter, and then it's also 10 millimeters to 11 millimeters in diameter if you prefer metric. This puts it right around the similar size to an Esterbrook SD. So if you watch this channel, you already know I love that size section. It fits perfectly in my hand. So if you happen to be an SD fan, this should work out okay for you as well. And then its weight is 0.9 ounces or 25.5 grams. The 25.5 is what I'm more familiar with as far as numbering system goes. And it falls right in between most of my pens, with the exception of like my stainless steel or brass pens. It's a very comfortable weight to have. Okay, so now that we've got this general specs out, let's go ahead and talk a little bit about the pen itself. So this resin is just beautiful. I am very much in an autumn frame of mind these days, so the whole gold scheme is really wonderful. But besides just being a translucent gold, I don't know if you can see, there are also these little tiny swaths of sparkle in there, and I'm not talking about the large gold sparkles, which are absolutely stunning. I always like the large sparkles within the Benu pen resins, but okay, it's kind of picking up. There's almost like a little ghost of sparkle going on inside, and it just makes it look kind of ethereal. I don't know, it's lovely. So and I like how it catches the light no matter what kind of angle you're holding the pen at. So even if you say are a lefty, it doesn't matter. Like the light always hits it so that there's other dimension to the pen, which is really, really nice. And I do enjoy the fact that it's a little bit of a translucent pen. I love a demonstrator. You know that if you follow me. It's definitely one of my favorite looks. But this one I think would be fine even for people who are not big demonstrator fans, because you've got these big pockets of these chunky sparkles in there. It's not just like clear completely, you know what I mean? And I think that makes it a nice option for people both who are fans and who aren't fans of that particular style. And I don't know, there's just something really, really beautiful about the overall composition, like where the resin overlaps and you get that richer gold. And then at the finials, I just think it's really, really pretty. I have very much enjoyed writing with it, and I've gotten a ton of compliments at work for it as well, which is always nice. But even from people who don't normally notice my pens, because I will say I do tend to have slightly more subdued writing utensils. So I'm not always, rocking the bling, but people really thought that this one was eye-catching in a positive way, or at least what seemed like a positive way. So one of my biggest concerns when I first picked up a Euphoria was whether or not I would be able to get over this step, because for me this is quite a large step. But the thing is, this grip section, it's so long that my hand doesn't really even touch that step, and the threads are very, very smooth, like very smooth, and it's very much a comfortable hit on my thumb, and I am super sensitive to that. I've talked about it many, many times on this channel, and a lot of times sharp threads and a large step are a deal breaker for me. But with the Euphoria, not something that I worry about, because now I've got two of them, and both of the Euphorias are very, very comfortable for me. I think even if you had a larger hand, and I do have small hands, you wouldn't really be bothered by this step. One, you'd have to have much larger hands, I think, to even really hit this on your thumb on a regular basis. And even if you do, like I said, that edge is really smoothed down, almost to the point where you kind of feel a curve rather than like a sharp edge. So again, I think it's perfectly comfortable, even if you're super sensitive to things like that, as I am. Now, the other big thing about this particular pen is the nib. So Schmidt nibs are incredibly, incredibly wet and juicy. Like, it doesn't matter if you're talking about the fine, the medium, the broad, these things glide across the page. If you are like me and you tend to write small, I would say stick with the fine nib, because the medium, it becomes very, very hard to write in tiny blocks or tiny spaces. I originally got a Euphoria a couple years ago in a broad, and it was legit too wet for me. Like, I could not write in my Hobonichi Weeks because it lets so much ink out. If you were someone who writes with like a bigger lettering style, not a problem at all. And it is probably one of the smoothest nibs I've ever used. And that includes like a gold nibs. Like, Schmidt nibs are amazing as far as comfort and the way they just glide across a piece of paper. But they are very, very wet. Now, let me bring this in a little bit so you can kind of see. This is a fine nib. For me, this is quite a broad fine, but what's great about it is I have a really heavily shimmery ink in it. I have Dominant Industries Autumn Sunlight, something like that. I'll double check in just a minute. But it looks amazing. Even in this fine nib, you can see an obscene amount of shading. There's sparkle. It's just gorgeous. But it is a slightly broader fine than I am used to. That said, I had no problems whatsoever over the last 2 weeks. I wrote in my weeks in it, and like the entirety of last week and in this week so far. I've been able to read everything. It's not difficult as far as the line itself being too broad. It's, again, one of the smoothest writing nibs in my collection, and I love that. I really love it for journal entries. I did journal quite a lot in this, and not only does it just release so much beautiful ink and show off that character like nobody's business, but it's just a nice experience. There's no catching, no hard starts whatsoever. And I think if you write a little bit larger than I do, the medium and the broad would be such an amazing experience. I can't imagine how beautiful the ink lines would look in a broad. If I just wrote a little bit larger, I would absolutely gravitate towards that, because if it looks so cool in a fine, a broad's going to be incredible. Anyway, that's, what I think about the nibs. Definitely Schmidt's are wonderful, strongly recommended. If you write tiny, stick with the fine. If you write a little larger, medium and broad would be amazing and would show off everything you need it to. Okay, you can see how much shimmer is in this ink, and yet I have had 0 issues with the feed clogging, and I've written with this a ton over the last 2 weeks. I've had to refill the converter twice. This is actually, I'm on my 3rd, and you can see within the month I will definitely be out. And it's not shown me any problems whatsoever. Now, I have not gotten to try any other inks. It'll be interesting once I delve into some of my more persnickety Ferris wheel press shimmer inks, if the same can be said. But as far as Dominant Industry goes, the formulation works a-okay. I'd like to have a chance to try some of my super dry non-shimmer inks in here. I think that would also still be perfectly fine, because again, this is quite a broad writing fine. But just keep that in mind. Inks with shimmer seem to be really, really solid in this. So if you've got a problematic shimmer ink, give this particular nib and feed a shot, and you should see some really good results. Just so you can see how smoothly this glides across the page, I'm going to do a really quick writing sample for you. So again, you can see just how much shading shows up even in this fine nib. It really is absolutely stunning. I love writing with this thing. Okay, just so you have a little bit of an idea of how the Euphoria sizes up compared to a number of other popular pens out there, we're going to do a little bit of a size comparison. Of course, closed doesn't really matter as much as the orientation with which you write with these pens, but at least this gives you a little bit of an idea at first. So the Euphoria is one of the biggest pens in my collection. I have small hands. I generally write with somewhat smaller pens, but it's not a monster compared to my other pens. Here is, of course, the Benu collaboration with Goldspot Euphoria next to a Esterbrook Esty. Then there's the Pilot Decimo, the Platinum 3776, the Pilot E95S, and the Kaweco Sport in brass. It is much larger than the two pocket pens, but it's not like ridiculous, right? So when they're closed, it's not that odd of a lineup, but let's go ahead and orient these pens in the position with which I write, and then we'll get to see a better idea of how it sizes up. Okay, once all of these pens are in the orientation with which I write, you can see they're all very, very similar in size, to be honest. The shortest is actually the Esterbrook Esty, which always surprises me, but the grip sections are virtually identical. So if you like the Esterbrook Esty size, you will probably like the Euphoria size. The longest pen, I'm always surprised by this, is the E95S, and it's just millimeters longer than the way I orient my 3776. But overall, quite similar. There's nothing crazy long or crazy short. And in my collection, the grip sizes are all generally pretty close together. I do enjoy pens that are a little bit smaller and grip sections that tend to fall between 10 and 11 millimeters, so do keep that in mind. But you can see everything really does sort of fit together very, very well. Okay, so overall, this Benu Goldspot collaboration Euphoria in Hot Toddy is an absolute winner for me. Again, I love the way this resin looks. I cannot get over how enjoyable it is to write with, just to get to see the light play off of it every day. The writing experience itself is absolutely fantastic. Even in a fine nib, you get to see so many characteristics in the right kinds of inks. Definitely recommended for people who write a little bit larger. If they want to see even more of that, to check out the medium and the broad. This is one of those pens that I know I'm going to be reaching for the rest of this autumn and probably well into the winter season. Fits right in with the rest of my collection as far as size and ease of writing goes, and it's just overall a very, very nice pen. If you have any questions about this particular pen, please feel free to pop those in the comments. If you have any experiences with this or any other Euphoria, definitely share those thoughts as well. I think that the more we can sort of talk and share opinions, the better it is for the community, because of course, everybody's different. Somebody might have larger hands than me. Someone might prefer a much broader nib than I do, or whatever. Being able to just go back and forth, I think, is really, really a good thing. If this video was in any way entertaining, useful, interesting, whatever, please do consider giving me a thumbs up or potentially even subscribe to the channel. As always, thank you so, so much for joining me. This was so delightful. I definitely want to thank Goldspot for sending the pen to me and giving me a chance to try it out. I have had such a good time with this, and like I said, I'll be using it all autumn long and well into winter, I'm certain. Again, thank you so much for joining me. If you have lasted to the end of this video, you are everything that is awesome. And hopefully, I will see you next time. Bye-bye.